You are entering a safe space. Please take a moment to center yourself and allow every thought, worry, and care to fall away right now. Focus on taking deep breaths and allow yourself to feel the healing freedom that is waiting to be ignited within you. Welcome to the Loud Whisper Reignite Your Voice podcast. This is your healing space, providing you with hope and inspiration as you become more connected to yourself. Your safe vessel, helping you move to a higher consciousness to reignite your voice and discover who you are destined to be really inside you. I am Isabel Draughon, your host. I am also an author, entrepreneur, and a life transformation and spiritual coach. Most importantly, I am a perpetual student of life, just like you. So let's explore together. Claim what is already inside you. Welcome to the Loud Whisper Reignite Your Voice podcast. I am your host, Isabel Draughon. This is your health and wellness podcast. Thank you so much for being here. Always excited to have you guys join this space. It's the healing space, the space where we come together and talk about everything humanity, the things that we're experiencing, personal development, higher consciousness, trauma, healing, really being whole, coming home to ourselves. So thank you so much, first of all, for even listening to the podcast, the awareness that you're getting for yourself and really getting to the space. I'm always excited to have you here, but make sure to subscribe, hit the share button, hit the like button. I would really appreciate it. Have your friends join us. So today we're talking about when life calls you to pivot. When life calls you to pivot. If you're honest, you probably feel that tug, the tug in your spirit telling you, this isn't it anymore. I've been having a lot of these conversations. It seems as though there are a lot of people being asked to pivot. Some people are looking at like you're being forced to pivot, but change is happening. Change has to happen. And instead of moving, instead of doing different things, what we're doing is that we're afraid. We're overstaying in places, in relationships, or not forget even about other people. We're overstaying in this trauma that we have in our bodies. We're living in this space in our mind, in our body, and our soul. Well, it's eating us up inside because we're not trying to change. We're not trying to pivot. But what happens when life calls you to pivot? What happens? I know you've had conversations about this. I went through that this October this year. This year has taught me a lot of lessons, like any other year. But this year was one of the years that I had to pivot. It taught me a lot. You know, you think you know what you know. No, you don't know. And then you say, well, I've pivoted before. I always pivot. I always change. There's levels to it. And I think the more you get into your space and your knowing and your calling, the pivoting shifts, right? It becomes deeper. So instead of moving, instead of you doing something different, instead of you saying, okay, it is time for me to pivot. It is time for change. Why is it? Even if you hear a lot of people saying, I'm in a season of pivoting, whether it's good, bad, or indifferent. Why is it that we want to stay the same? We want to be in the space. I always say, it sounds crazy when you hear it, when I say it. We get comfortable being uncomfortable. Believe it or not, some of us get comfortable, really a lot of us, including myself. You find yourself that you start getting comfortable living in pain. You start getting comfortable living in suppression. You start getting comfortable living in spaces, being in spaces, whether it's your career, whether it's your relationship, whether it's spaces that you're in, that you're not even wanted, or you don't feel like yourself. You know there's that nudge. Every day it's talking to you, that loud whisper. Every day it's talking to you. It's talking to you. That something has to move, but we don't. We don't. It takes something catastrophic for us to make change, for us to move. Do you know why? It's the conditioning. We have been conditioned as a society to fear failure. And I don't know who came up with the word failure. You can't fail at something you've never tried before. To me, those are considered lessons. I taught myself that a very long time ago. I don't talk about failure. I can acknowledge with myself, especially when my self-sabotage starts. I will say, oh my God, I can't believe you did this. You know better than this. You should have never done this. You failed at this. But I have learned to wire my brain so I can take care of my nervous system with the words that I keep telling myself. So I know I stopped doing this for years, and I think I even did a talk about this about 5 years ago. I never say that I failed. I say that, oh, that was a lesson learned. Because they're all lessons. You cannot fail at something you've never done before, and if you've done it before, it's not you failing. You're just learning something new from that experience. It doesn't matter how long you've been in it. Okay? So number one, we fear failure. We fear that people will think something is wrong with us when it's time to pivot. We fear that people will no longer recognize us when it's time to pivot because we're comfortable, whether it's good, bad, or indifferent, being in the spaces that we're in, showing up how we're showing up. We're so good at it. You know how you hear people who are always in that space of being negative? They get comfortable being in that space. So that's their identity. It becomes kind of like your identity. So then we don't want to look different. We don't want to appear different. We're so comfortable where we're at. We're so worried about what people are going to say. Okay, we've been conditioned to equate consistency with success, and that is correct. Discipline and consistency will get you further in anything, but we have equated consistency with success to the point where people think, even if this is not working for me, as long as I keep going and keep doing and keep showing up, something is going to change. When you know deep down inside, you hear that voice. For me, that still voice that I heard in October, and I'm share that with you. I always say that's where God speaks the loudest to me. I've been hearing that voice all year about pivoting, but no, I can't pivot. I have to be consistent. Are you kidding me? We have been trained that we have to be consistent in order to be successful. There's so much truth in that. But let's be mindful of what the perspective of the consistent, where are you at as far as that consistency is concerned? You see what I mean? So we have to be consistent. We have to be obedient. But don't be consistent in being in pain. Don't be consistent in being uncomfortable. Don't be consistent in not wanting to change because you're afraid of what people are going to say about you. You're afraid of what people are going to think about you. You're afraid they're going to say, oh my God, I thought this person, they should be further. They say they were doing this, they're doing that, but look where they're at now. They're not even moving forward. They have to take a few steps back, or they need to move left or right. We're afraid of all that. We're afraid of the judgment from people. That's another reason why. Another reason why is because we have attached our identity to what we do instead of who we are. What we do validates us. It gives us identity. Okay? We have learned to do this because that's what society has required us to do. So we focus so much on performing, on improving, on fixing, on perfection, because that's our identity. What we do, the end results, the doing is our identity. So how dare someone tells you to pivot when you're consistent in your doing, you're consistent in your being. We're afraid to lose people. We're afraid to disappoint people because if I pivot, if I change, these people are not going to love me anymore. And the reality is they're not going to love you anymore. Let me not say they're not going to love you anymore. They're going to love you, but they don't recognize you. So they don't even know how to love you for the new version that you are. And you are afraid to lose those people. You are afraid that when you pivot and start moving in a different direction, when you get out of the pain, when you get out of the discomfort, when you get out of ignoring, suppressing that voice that's telling you, it's time for a shift. It's time for a shift. And this is all aspects of your life. This is all areas of your life. You are afraid that others will not approve of you. You will lose approval, but here is the truth. Staying where you belong is a form of failure itself. It's a form of betrayal. It's not even failure. It's a form of betrayal. Constantly, especially when you know deep down in your soul, you have that nudge telling you, it is time to pivot. You have to pivot. And let me tell you why. I'm going to share with you what happened to me. Why I'm even having this conversation about pivoting. 2025 has been a year of many lessons. And I think really, if we really look at life, every year, we can all tell a story about what has happened to us every year. We can all tell a story about that. We can all tell a story about our shifts. We can all tell a story about what we had to do, what we had to adjust, who we've lost, what we've gained. So every year just comes with its own wealth of wisdom. And for me, a lot had to do with pivoting. And like you, I was not having it. I'll share a story about what happened this year. For those of you that know, I hold a women's conference. It's called Loud Whisper Women's Conference. It's the healing space. And this is a space where women come as they are. I'm so serious about this healing space. For the past 3 years, I didn't even have vendors or anything. It was the woman. You come in, everything else you leave outside the door. And what I mean everything else, everything outside of you. That means friends, family, your kids, husband, partner, spouse, friends. This weekend is solely about the woman. It's about healing. It's about excavating. It's about feeling whole and coming home to yourself. It's about really learning and unlearning. I find myself that depending on what season I am in my life, there are certain seasons that all I'm doing is unlearning. I'm like, am I really learning anything? So you come there to learn and unlearn and to be with community. And it's really a healing space. I intentionally created as a healing space. It's not about product sales. You're not learning about products. You're not learning about anything but yourself. So anyway, fast forward. I've done it for 3 years. This year was my 4th year. And from beginning, really, of the year, God has been speaking to me. That little loud whisper, that still voice, God has been speaking to me saying, Isabel, you need to pivot. You need to pivot. And my ego was like, no, I'm not pivoting. Why am I pivoting? You need to pivot. I didn't want to pivot. And I'm very vulnerable with you. There's several reasons why God needed me to pivot. But one of the main reasons I feel personally as I go through my journey, even through speaking with God, sometimes to God, sometimes mad at God, I was moving surface level. And let me explain that to you. What I mean by that is, how whatever you do is in you? Literally in me. I will walk in a space, in a conference, shut my eyes, talk to women. I don't care if they're 50 or 100, and just let it out, let it out. It is so fascinated. Even one of my friends told me, she asked me a question. She said, before you actually go do a talk, do you write it down? I said, yeah. She said, what happens when you get on stage? I said, God just done something different from what I wrote. She said, for whatever reason, I thought this of you because you have spiritual academia. I was like, whoa, that's extremely powerful. But yeah, I was operating on surface level, because I could do it with my eyes closed, and God required me to go another level, deeper and deeper and higher, right? Different aspects of it. And I didn't want to do it. I did not want to do it. So January came around. I knew it deep in my soul that I needed to pivot. I didn't want to do it. My ego kept on saying, are you kidding me? We're not doing this. What do you mean? This is Loud Whisper. It's you, Isabel. Everybody knows you're having a conference. Guys, I advertised the conference as I'm speaking to you. My conference was in October. This whole time I'm advertising, but what I knew for sure was this, and this is why it's important for you to listen to that still voice. This is why it's important for us as human beings, not human doers, human beings, to find time for stillness with ourselves. And I talk about this all the time because that nudge was there. That voice, that intuition that you're probably feeling right now as you're listening to this podcast, that's telling you to do or not to do something, to take action or not to take action, whatever the situation, it is giving you guidance, but we don't take that guidance. It is telling you whether to make a left turn, a right turn. We don't do that because we let our mind take over everything. We let our ego run everything. So I always said to myself, no, I'm not doing this. It was hard because I didn't know what to do. Like, what am I doing? Are you kidding me? This is my 4th year. Who just in the middle of going into their 4th year decides to shift the trajectory, this tragedy, or just shift everything about the conference? Who does that? No, I said I was not doing that. So I kept trying to hold on to the plan. The plan that I had, that October we're having, September we're having this conference, that was my plan. Even if God was speaking to me and saying, no, this is not the plan. I need you to pivot. You are moving surface level. Yeah? You are doing this like it's just like it's nothing. I need you to go deeper. Like I told everybody else, it had everything to do with me and nothing to do with anybody. I had to pivot. And I only didn't have to pivot with the conference. I had to pivot in certain areas of my life. I had to face it. Yeah? But it took me 9 months, 9 long months of holding on to this plan that I had. Holding on to this agony. Holding on to this pain. I said pain already. Holding on to this discomfort, this unknown. Just holding on to it. You know why? Because pivoting felt like a loss at first. Pivoting. When I had to pivot, it felt like a loss at first. It felt like a loss because I needed to hold on to this plan that I have for my life. I have to hold on to this plan I have for my life. My ego was like, no, we're not pivoting. We're holding on to this. My soul, the spirit, God was speaking to me. No, you need to pivot. So for a whole 9 months, I felt it. I knew it deep down in my soul. I knew it deep down in my core, but I ignored it. Because we're good at doing that. We're good at living in discomfort. We're good at living in things that, oh, this is so comfortable because if I pivot, it's going to require me to be someone else. So let me just stay in this low vibrational right now because this is actually working for me. I can handle the low vibrational even if it's coming with things that are not good for me. I can handle that pain. I can handle, those disappointments, the knowns, the blows. I can handle that. But if I pivot right now and move to something that may take me to the other level, guess what? It's going to require me to be someone else. And I'm not interested in doing that now. Let's go ahead and stick to the plan. It felt like a loss to me. What I didn't know was God was liberating me. God was liberating me because it was time to shift. It was time to do something different. And it's not different saying what I had was not working. Perfectly working. It's still the same thing. We're just pivoting in some areas, you see. I talk about this all the time. We're afraid to change. We're afraid to pivot because of people, ourselves. We don't want to look like failures. We don't want people to think we're struggling, you know. But what most of us fail to realize is most of the people that you admire, if I can probably tell you, 99.99% of the people that you admire the most, they had to reinvent themselves over and over again to become who they are today. They had to pivot so many times in order to become who they are today. But we're afraid. And we admire them. But they had to reinvent themselves. It is a part of life. Pivoting is a part of life. I always say, if you pay attention, everything that God creates changes. Everything. It evolves. It grows. It changes. So why is it we feel like we are not going to change? We're not supposed to pivot. I mean, think about it. I don't know where you are right now in the world. Where I'm at in Illinois, a week and a half ago, 2 Sundays ago, the sun was shining, had sunglasses on. It is like 30 degrees now. The leaves have been shed off the trees. They're falling off. Because it's time to pivot. It's time for change. So through this whole process, I realized the reason why we struggle, including myself, we struggle is because we're afraid. It's that death of who we thought, of what we thought really our life should be. It is the death of what we thought we knew. It is the death of the known. You know how we have the unknown? The known. For whatever reason, we feel that where we're at now, this is it. You have to know every step, every second. Can you imagine if God, the higher power, showed us every step we had to go through in order to be successful? So picture this for a second, okay? Your goals. Maybe in the next 20 years you see yourself with, making a lot of money, doing your calling, just happy. Like everything you envisioned in the next 10 years, you can see it. You're like, okay, that's it. But can you imagine if you can see the process itself? Can you imagine if God showed us the process? None of us would make it to 3 months. Because it's a part of life. It's the ebb and flow. It's the duality, right? Nature changes. It evolves. Everything changes. It's a part of it. It's a part of the pivoting. It's a part of the change. But we are so afraid of the death of what we thought our life should be that we are afraid to pivot. The reason we struggle isn't the change itself. Yeah? We don't like change. We've acknowledged that. But let's acknowledge too, change is inevitable. If there's one thing that's constant in this world is change. The question is, do we control the change, or we let the change change us? Change is inevitable. Change, that's the one thing that's constant in life. Good, bad, or indifferent, change is going to happen where we like it. It is part of life. Do we let the change shape us, or do we shape the change? As I mentioned, the reason we struggle is not the change. It's the death of what we thought our life should be. It's the death. But what we're not realizing is the moment you accept your reality and say, this is where I'm at, I'm willing to pivot, the liberation that comes with that. Through this process, I learned something too. Most of the people who have a joyful life, they have accepted life. Hear me out for a second. What I mean by saying they have accepted life is this. They have accepted their reality, good, bad, or indifferent. So they have accepted life. I'm just giving you an example. Even if you feel like your life is really bad right now, that person has accepted life. That's called self-awareness. That's called accepting reality. But that person, these people, the reason why they have so much joy and maybe they're positive, and I don't mean positive all the time, that positive toxicity that the world wants us to, oh my God, I'm so positive, I'm so positive. It's not sustainable. We cannot maintain it. Nobody stays positive 24/7. But you get the gist of what I'm saying. They flow with life. That's what I call positivity. You're flowing with life because you're understanding the ebb and flow, the duality, the light and the dark, but you're still accepting that this is my reality and this is life. So they have accepted life. They have accepted reality. You know what that does for people like that? It gives them so much power. And you know why? Because first of all, self-awareness. Once you become aware, that's the beginning of everything, because they've accepted the reality. But once you accept your reality, what it does for you is, so it allows you either to course correct, to take action, or to not take action, which is still action, to pivot, to strategize. It gives you an opportunity to say, this is where I'm at. Good, bad, or indifferent. But where do I go from here? That's because they have accepted reality. They have accepted life. That doesn't mean when something bad happens to them, they're not in pain, they're not grieving, they're not feeling lost, they're not feeling disappointed. Oh, no, no, no. They feel all those things. But the difference is that they have accepted their reality. So that gives them the power to operate from that space, to make informed choices from that space. So they're not making emotional choices. They're making informed choices from that space. So you got to learn to accept reality. It's not an easy thing to do, especially when you're not in the best space. Pivoting is not easy because we're afraid of the unknown, and we're used to sitting where we're at. We're comfortable, extremely comfortable where we're at, because we know what it feels like to have a heartache. We know what it feels like on Tuesday when I'm depressed. I know that feeling. I know it. So you know what I'm going to do? I'm probably going to numb it. I'm probably going to ignore it. I'm probably going to do something because I know how to navigate it. But what we're not realizing is that it's eating us slowly inside. And honestly, it's really removing you away from becoming, or taking you from the trajectory, from your path of becoming who you're supposed to be. So the example that I shared with you guys in October, my ego was doing that for me. There is no way. Let me tell you, from the time that I made the decision, the changes that I see within myself, it has allowed me to really vibrate higher. And then it's bringing the people that God is sending into my life. It's allowing me to vibrate higher. If you're going through a season right now of pivoting, if you're going through a season where you're not understanding what is happening in your life, and you feel like things are changing, and you know deep down in your soul, God is asking you to make a change. You know deep down in your soul that it's time for a change. You're feeling that nudge inside of you. That nudge doesn't go anywhere. It keeps telling you, pivot, change. This is not healthy. This is not good for you. This is not the best environment. It's time for you to go. It's time for you to take a step. Or it's time for you to step back. It's time for you to take action. Or it's time for you not to take action. That voice is constantly speaking to you. Even if you're not hearing it, you're feeling it. Our intuition, you feel it, you know. But as I always say, we've been conditioned to ignore it. We are used to hearing everybody else's voices, but our voices become foreign. Let me explain something to you, the spiritual side of pivoting. God uses discomfort as a direction. I'm going to say that to you again. God uses a discomfort as a direction. This is something that I've learned to the core this year. I mean, I had to be in it, yeah? So I'm starting to realize God uses discomfort, because if I'm always comfortable, how am I going to change? Think about it. If you're comfortable, why would you look for change? Because change doesn't come easy, yeah? We all know that when you're changing, it comes with the trials and the tribulations. So God uses discomfort as a direction for change, to bring change in your life. And sometimes the blessing is not what's blooming, but in what's breaking. You hear what I said? Sometimes the blessing is not in what's blooming, but what's breaking. Sometimes things have to break. So whatever needs to bloom can bloom. Okay? The blessing is not always in the blooming, but in what's breaking. Sit with that for a second, because your spirit knows before your mind admits it. I always say the longest journey we can take is from your mind to your heart, because deep down inside your heart knows. We all know, but we are afraid, and it's okay. And it's okay to be afraid. But once you start feeling that, if you're feeling restless, if you're feeling like your inner stirring, feeling that inner stirring within you, that's not confusion. If you're feeling restless, if you're feeling that inner stirring within you, that's not confusion. That's a calling. That's a direction. That's something needs to be done. And it doesn't have to be a grand thing. It could be this little. There's something could be as little as making a bed every day, which will make a change in your life. Believe it or not. But that pull, that restlessness that you're feeling, that nudge, that voice that keeps getting louder and louder, pay attention. That inner stirring that's in you, constantly just stirring in you. Yeah? It makes you feel uncomfortable. That's not confusion. That's a calling, because every divine pivot begins with a whisper. Every divine pivot begins with a whisper. You and I both know it. Every divine pivot begins with a whisper. Every divine pivot. It'll either be a subtle nudge that's going to ask you something, or you'll be like, like we always say as humans, that gut feeling, that's divine. That's divine right there. Pay attention to that. Every divine pivot begins with a whisper. You will get a subtle nudge whispering to you over and over and over and over again. And that's why we become restless. That's why we become uncomfortable. That's why we numb. That's why sometimes we're like, I don't want to do this, because that whisper is not going anywhere until you stop betraying yourself and start honoring that voice and shifting according to that voice, or just shifting and not doing anything, just sitting back. Always remember that. Sometimes the blessing is not in what's blooming, it's in what's breaking. And having faith is not about knowing what's next. I mentioned earlier, if you knew the end of what your life would look like, God showed you the end today, you're like, great, you have a vision. You're like, this is what I want my life to look like. And God is like, yes, your life is going to look like this. But I'm going to tell you, if God shows us the process, we will all quit. It's the ebb and flow of it. The speed bumps, the up and down, the stillness sometimes. Sometimes nothing is moving. Sometimes things are moving too fast. Sometimes it's just not working out. Sometimes you're like, can I get a break? Yeah. It's not knowing what happens next. It's believing that whatever is coming next is aligned. It's trusting that whatever is coming next, that's the place, the thing, the person, the people, the environment that God is asking you to be in. Before I end this session, I wanted to take a moment to and speak to you about, I really felt that I had to just breathe on that. I hope you're listening to this and let it sit with you and listen to it again and again and again. My whole goal for this talk is for us to let go of this notion and this idea that people outside of our lives have control of our lives. Fall apart if you have to, for crying out loud. Cry if you have to, for crying out loud. You know, don't talk to nobody for 3 weeks, for crying out loud. Do whatever it takes in order for you to pivot. We don't want to stay the same, because if you stay the same, you don't grow. If you are the same person when you were an infant, when you came out of your mother's womb, you would never grow, will be the same. The only difference is we want change, but we want to know what the change is so we think we can control the change. It's never meant to be that way. Your job is to have the belief, the faith, and the knowing, right? And the accepting of your reality. This is my reality. And I believe and I have faith that this is the path that is destined for me. Because where I'm at right now is too uncomfortable. I feel it in my gut. I feel it in my soul. It keeps nudging. Something is not right. You understand what I'm saying? Something is not right. And you're probably asking, saying, how did you know that it was time to pivot, Isabel? When do people know that it's time to pivot? When it's time, when peace leaves the room, number one? When you're not peaceful deep in your soul. And that's with everything. When you have that anxious feeling, I don't know about you guys, I get it, right? When you're an energy person, the anxiety. When peace leaves the room, number one, that's when you start pivoting. When something that once felt safe is no longer safe, you have to pivot. When it once felt safe is no longer safe, you have to pivot. When something once felt alive and now feels dead, when you're around, you have to pivot. You have to pivot. This is the harder one. When the door keeps closing, no matter how hard you push, you're pushing, and you're pushing, nothing seems to work. This door is not opening. Your stuff is not lining up. At that point, you have to understand that change needs to happen. You don't necessarily have to take action at that second, but you have to do something. And that something may be sitting still so you can hear from the higher power as to what is happening and what direction do you go. When your spirit feels out of alignment, I always feel it's time to pivot. When things are not making sense, like the kids say now, make it make sense. If it's not making any sense to you, if it makes your soul unweary, if it makes you uncomfortable, it's time to pivot. Let's stop staying in uncomfortable situations. Let's stop being in uncomfortable environments. I say this, we have one life to live, just one. Just one. You get to choose. This is your life. This is your path. You get to choose. We call it burnout. We call it exhaustion, but sometimes it's the soul saying it's time to move. And we call it burnout. We call it exhaustion, but your soul is saying it's time to move. Move, Isabel, move. Yeah, it is time to take action. Or sometimes we're saying, I'm so burnt out, I'm so exhausted, and the soul is like, be still, Isabel, sit down. But all I know is change needs to happen. Something has to change. Pivoting doesn't always mean quitting. You hear me? Pivoting doesn't always mean quitting. Sometimes it's a shift in energy, focus, or direction. Sometimes. So pivoting doesn't always mean quitting. It's just a shift in energy, in direction. And this idea of thinking that we can control what's happening in our lives, that we know from the beginning to the end of what's happening in life, it's what's driving us crazy. I know it's easy said than done to let things just flow on the way, just flow and let it go. Believe me, when you get to that space, believe me when I tell you this, because now that when you get to that space of allowing things to flow, you will have much more peace, because you've come to the understanding anything physical outside of yourself, you don't have any control over it. Anything physical, anything outside of you cannot give you safety. As much safety as the inner you will give you. Anything outside of you. You may think you're slowing down. You may think this is happening. There's so many things that are happening. So many gifts. So many gifts. Remember I told you. It's in the breaking that sometimes things bloom. It's in the breaking. Sometimes the blessing is not what's blooming, but in what's breaking. Okay? There is a gift to pivoting. I think throughout the whole talk I've talked about the gift to pivoting, but I'll give you like 2 to 3 pointers for you to just really pay attention to. Pivoting is not punishment, it's preparation, right? You're being prepared for the next phase. You need to prepare for the next season. Life has seasons. We talk about this all the time. Some of us are in fall, so right now we are pivoting. How are we pivoting? We're wearing coats. We're taking care of ourselves differently. We're staying in more, okay? Preparing ourselves for the next season, because whether we like it or not, the next season is going to happen, and the next season is coming. God will never waste your pain. He uses it to position you. God will never waste your pain. He uses it to position you. Believe me, I know this. Believe me, I know this. So whatever pain, whatever you're experiencing right now, and you're afraid to change, you're afraid to pivot, you're just afraid, I want you to know this. God will never waste your pain. He uses it to position you. You're being positioned. It just doesn't make sense right now. And every pivot, it strips away what's false of you. Every pivot, every time you pivot, you feel lighter. Every time you pivot, it strips away some things, and then you start becoming more yourself. You start coming into the knowing of who you are. Into the knowing of who you are. You haven't lost your path at all. You haven't. So if you're feeling that nudge to pivot, it's time to pivot. If you feel that nudge to pivot, it's time to pivot. It's time for you to step into your next chapter. It is time for you to step into that chapter. If this is the space that you're in, if you're in the in-between, if you're like, I don't know what's happening, or if you feel stuck, I've been stuck several times, that I'm like, okay, what am I doing next? Where am I going? It's time to pivot. There is so much liberation. There is so much freedom if you can just allow your journey to flow. And if you can start trusting that voice inside of you a little bit more, that nudge that keeps talking to you, that nudge that helped me move from, I had to make a decision because I could hear it all the time. Change. Then I'm like, oh, hold on. This side is survival, this side is healing. I get to choose. If you pay attention to that voice, it gives you the capability to be able to choose what you want with your life. I'm going to go ahead and close this out. I can keep going on and on because more was starting to come out and I wanted to keep speaking. And I honestly was just trying to do this podcast today for 30 minutes, 45 max. But you know, when you're just passionate about what you do, that's what happens. But I honestly want to leave you with this. You haven't failed because you changed direction. You are growing. You are growing. And remember, like I said, God will never waste your pain. He's using it to position you. You better believe that. You better believe that. He's using it to position you. So hold on. Okay? Ask yourself, what season am I in? Is it summer, winter, fall? Is it the season of letting go? Is it a season of being still? Is it a pruning season? You know? Is it a season where I have to trust myself a little bit more? Is it a season of isolation? Those are my favorite seasons. The isolation season, I love being alone. Is it a season of isolation? What season are you in? Take the time. Ask yourself that. What am I holding on to that no longer fits this season? Or whatever season that God is bringing my way, some things, some people, and some habits of my own can go into that season. So I need to look at myself in the mirror and change. Yeah, because it's always easy to blame other people. Take me out of this environment. Don't put me around these people. Don't. But before we can point our fingers on everybody else, we first have to look at ourselves in the mirror and say, what is it about me that I need to change? What is it about me that I need to change? That's going to allow this to work. That's going to allow me to pivot. Where is God asking me to trust him more? God, the higher power, whoever you subscribe to. Where is the higher power asking you to trust more? My hope for you, my prayer for you this season is that this season, that whatever season that you're in, whatever season you're in, I hope and pray that he teaches you to pivot gracefully and with peace. And for you to understand that that's just the flow of life, for you not to resist it. For you not to resist it. And for you to understand, as I mentioned earlier, God will never use your pain. He will never waste your pain. He's using you to position it. There is more for you. There is more to you. But I'm here to tell you, if you don't allow yourself change, if you don't allow yourself to pivot, if you do not allow yourself something new, or if you do not allow yourself to break so you can blossom, allow yourself that. Don't worry about other people. Don't worry about what people are going to think. Be in your reality. Be in your awareness. It is not bad. Yeah? Whatever you're experiencing, it probably feels bad. And what you're experiencing right now, the heart hurts. You know, it is bad. No, let's not say it's probably not bad. It is bad. But I believe that you have the power within you. You have the power within you. You have the power to make the change. And if you don't feel that power, being still, that's the strongest form of change you could ever do. So if it's not making sense to you right now, if you're not understanding what's going on in your life right now, if you're just like, oh my goodness, what is happening? Give yourself the permission to be still. In stillness is when you hear, is when change happens, is when things move. Things don't move when it's noisy. Spirit moves in stillness. In stillness. So I hope this helps you. I hope this resonates with you. And I hope we all can take from this that change is part of our life. It's like the seasons that we're in. The leaves have fell off the trees right now in some areas. In some areas, the grass is so green. It's just becoming green. In some areas, it's raining because they need the rain. In some areas, it's hot. That's where I need to be, wherever you're at, where it's hot. Because that's what they need. We suffer because we're focused on what the outside thinks of what's going on within us. We suffer because we are afraid that it's the death of what we thought our life would be if it changes. That's why we suffer. But if I can give you any solace, if I can give you any comfort, is this. We don't even know what's going to happen in the next 30 minutes, so just go ahead and take a deep breath. Breathe in. Pull your shoulders up and back. And relax. Take it one step at a time. There is no need for you to worry about what's going to happen in the next 6 months or what people are going to say about you in the next 6 months, as we don't even know if the next 30 minutes are given to us. So enjoy every minute, enjoy every second. But for this end year and for next year, I dare you. When your soul feels out of alignment, it's time to pivot. And not because of other people, because your soul needs it. Your growth needs it. Your development needs it. I hope this helps you. I hope you get something from this. Please share it with your friends. And please, would come on next week. Hear more information about the Loud Whisper podcast. But, give yourself grace. Give yourself grace. And I wish you all the best. I just want you to remember this. God will never, never waste your pain. He uses it to position you. God never wastes your pain. So whatever you're going through, it's not in vain. Whatever it is that looks different from what you know, that feels different from what you know, that is showing up different from what you know, that's making you feel anxious, that's making you feel weary from what you know, whatever that is, trust it. Trust it. And I wish you all the best. Until next time. Again, thank you for listening to the Loud Whisper podcast. Until next time, this is your healing space. Thank you for listening to the Loud Whisper Reignite Your Voice podcast. If you enjoyed today's show, please be sure to subscribe so that you never miss a conversation. I would also be honored if you would consider leaving a positive rating and review on Apple Podcasts. As always, you can connect with me through the links in the description. Thanks again for listening. We're so glad you could join us today and look forward to supporting you on your greatest journey. Have a great day.